Hello, and thank you for tuning in. On behalf of all of us at Books and Books at the studios in Key West, I welcome you to a virtual event with Jennifer L. Holm, Savanna Ganucheau, and Hope Larson to discuss Turtle in Paradise. Jennifer L. Holm is a New York Times bestselling children's author and the recipient of 3 Newbery Honors for her novels Our Only May Amelia, Penny from Heaven, and Turtle in Paradise. Jennifer collaborates with her brother, Matthew Holm, on 2 graphic novel series, the Eisner Award-winning Baby Mouse series, and the best-selling Swish series. She lives in California with her husband and 2 children. She has several new titles in 2021, including Lion of Mars and the Turtle in Paradise graphic novel adaptation, with artist Savanna Ganucheau. Sorry about the ambient noise. I'm doing this event from the bookstore. Savanna Ganucheau is a comic artist from New Orleans, Louisiana. With a BFA in film from the University of New Orleans, she made her start in comics by self-publishing and selling her work in small comic book shops around New Orleans. Alongside creating the popular webcomic George and Johnny, Savanna's artwork has appeared in notable publications including Gem and the Holograms, Adventure Time Comics, and Lumberjanes. Her first graphic novel, Bloom, was published by First Second, and she is the adapter and illustrator for Turtle in Paradise with author Jennifer L. Holm. Our moderator this evening is Hope Larson. Hope is the author of numerous comics, including the Eagle Rock series and the 4-Point series with Rebecca Mock. She adapted and illustrated A Wrinkle in Time, the graphic novel, has dabbled in superhero comics as the writer of Batgirl, and also moonlights in animation. She has 2 graphic novels coming out this fall, All My Friends and Salt Magic. So about our program, throughout tonight's broadcast, you're invited to ask questions by using the Ask a Question feature at the bottom of the screen. And of course, you can order copies of Turtle in Paradise by pressing the big green button below. That will also take you to our shop site where you can order any book you can think of. We appreciate each and every order and the generous donations from viewers everywhere. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guests to the virtual stage. There we go. One more.
Hey. Hi. Gosh, I'm so excited for this event. It's always really fun to be a moderator because you're not the one on the spot. And it's great to see you both. It's been quite a while. I think, Jenny, the last time I saw you was in Pasadena.
Yeah.
At a library event. Does that sound right?
That was a couple of years ago, in the before COVID.
That's right. And Savanna, last time I saw you was at a comics event in Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah, that was so fun.
Yeah, that was super fun. And it's so great to see some friendly faces again. So Turtle in Paradise, the graphic novel, is fantastic. I was so excited to get the chance to read this book early and to moderate this Q&A because I myself have adapted a novel into a graphic novel, and I'm also a historical fiction writer. So I feel like I'm straddling all of the stuff that makes this book exciting to me. So Turtle in Paradise, wonderful novel. Jenny, could you tell us a little bit about how you came to write this book and what it's about?
Sure. So it started with my family. So my mother's side of the family is from Key West. So basically my great-grandmother, her name was Jenny Lewin. She was what they call a Key West conch. So if all the Key Westers are watching, they know what that is. So a conch is a conch shell. And basically what happened in the late 1800s, a lot of people from the Bahamas emigrated to Key West, and one of them was my grandmother and her family. So they were Bahamian, and then they moved to Key West, and they settled there. And my great-grandmother grew up there, and but she eventually moved away and moved up to New Jersey, where my mom was born. And my mom would talk about Key West when I was a kid. And she kind of had a bit of an attitude about it because she grew up outside of New York City and New Jersey. And so she thought she was more of like a city girl. And so in the summer, she went down to Key West with my Nana, her grandma. And she thought it was a little backwards, a little dusty, because back then, in the 50s, it wasn't the Key West of today, which has been really built up, and it's like an amazing destination. I'm going in 2 days, actually. So back then it was it was kind of still recovering a bit from the Great Depression. And so there were a lot of strange things that my mom thought was weird about Key West. And the one that always stuck in my head was that when she was in Key West, her grandma would tell her to always shake her shoes out in the morning. And she thought that was weird. It was like some bizarre superstition until one morning she shook out her shoes and out popped a scorpion, because scorpions like to hide in little places like your shoes. So I just had that image of my head of this New Jersey girl going to Key West, and that's how Turtle got started.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Savanna, how did you come on board this project?
Yeah, so I was introduced through my agent to the project, and I read through the book, and I just really loved the book so much. I'm a really big historical fiction fan since I was a kid. In middle school, it's like all that I read. I would just stand in front of the historical fiction section. I don't know if it was because it was by the door, or if I actually liked it. But for some reason, I read so many historical fiction books when I was in middle school. And when I read Turtle Paradise, I was like, this is a book I would have read like 1000%. And like, it just made so much sense. And I'm from the Gulf Coast, and I grew up really close to the water, and I just really connected with the setting, and I connected with Turtle. And so I was so happy to be offered the project. And then, Jenny thought that I was a good fit. And so we just went from there.
She's being very shy. I'm a huge fan of hers. She's being very, very, very shy. No, I fell in love with Bloom, which all of you should check out. It's her previous graphic novel. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I'd actually been stalking her for a little while. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
She was handpicked by you, which is awesome. So I'm curious what the creative process was like for creating this book. Was there a script? Did you go back and forth a lot, or did Savanna just get turned loose?
Yeah, it was kind of just a turn, like, go for it kind of thing. I adapted the script, and I read the novel like a million times, and all my copies all like marked up and stuff. I don't know where it is though. But yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting process. I'd never done it before, and I had a really good time doing it though, adapting the novel into the comic script, that is.
I mean, you did it so well. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you. I was so glad that you liked it, and that, most of the time we were on the same page about everything. So
yeah,
super happy and grateful about that.
So did you write a script, or are you one of those cartoonists who just goes to thumbnails and sort of scripts that way?
No, I wrote it out because I really wanted to make sure that I was able to present Jenny and Gina, our editor, Jeannie Gagliano, a good and solid vision of what I wanted to do. Because my thumbs are like so messy and like garbage, and like I was like, they're not gonna understand, so I better write it out first. But sometimes when I write just for me and I'm the only one who's looking at it, I'll just write dialogue, or I'll go straight to thumbnails. Yeah, but yeah, no, for Turtle I did a full script. And it was great. It was a great experience. I've never written a full-length comic script before. So
that's so shocking, because it was so like amazing. Like the first draft, I mean, you didn't really have to change all that much when we were working with Gina. I feel like most of the things that were revised were for like pacing, or like going to another chapter or something, little details, but not the basic structure at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much. It was. I've read a lot of comic scripts, so I think that that's helped me a lot. And my collaborator Kevin's really good at writing comic scripts, and so I've learned a lot from him, Kevin Panetta, who wrote Bloom. And so just like I feel like I just like really tried to pick up on everything so that I did a good job. I'm glad I did a good job.
Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna jump around a little bit. So this is kind of a softball question, but Smokey the cat is maybe my favorite character in this book. I love Smokey the cat. I want to know if he has a real life inspiration, and also if you guys have pets.
Yeah, Jenny, go
So
first.
Smokey the cat didn't have a real life inspiration, but Termite the dog was named after my cousin's dog, Termite, who is a Key West dog, and they called it, well, termites are like a really big problem in Key West just because all the houses are made out of wood, so it drives everybody nuts, but they couldn't get rid of him, so they called him a termite. So, but Termite the dog is dead, R.I.P., best doggo, but not Smokey. I'm glad in one way because I wouldn't want a burned up cat.
For the drawing of Smokey, she is kind of based on my high school cat, who's still around. She lives with my mom, but Tina, her name's Tina Turner. She's really good, and she kind of has a habitual grumpy face, and she's so cute, and I love Kurt so much. Yeah, so like her like general demeanor and looks sometimes are very much based on Tina, and as far as Termite goes, he's a German Shepherd Corgi, I think, in the book, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, I remember that, right? Yeah. So I just, played with the coloring a lot, and he's so cute, but he doesn't have a real life. I actually have a German Shepherd mutt. His name is Boots.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He's not allowed in here right now, but yeah. So I actually have a German Shepherd mix, but Termite was not based around my dog.
All right. So historical fiction requires tons of research, both the writing and the drawing. And personally, I think that due to the visual nature of graphic novels, you actually have to do a lot more research. And it can be really tricky finding sources for the stuff you need to draw that are accurate to the time period. So I wanted to ask you both what kinds of research that you did to Jenny write the novel and Savanna draw the graphic novel.
Well, like, as you know, you go down the rabbit hole pretty hard when you're doing research for historical fiction. Key West has it has a little local library where they have an amazing archive with an archivist who's been there, this guy named Tom, for like ever, and he knows everything about Key West. But when I was writing the original book, this is over 10 years ago now, I actually interviewed a lot of people who had been alive during the Depression. And so I actually had firsthand accounts, and everybody I had interviewed has since passed away. They were already all in their 90s. So I had a lot of great little details from people I got to talk to. And then in terms of visually, Key West actually had a fair number of, the archive had a lot of visual reference available. And the other thing is Key West hasn't really changed. The houses that are there today were there 100 years ago. So there hasn't been a lot of new construction in Key West. So you can walk around today, imagine it a little shabbier with less proper roads and no stores. And that's pretty much the Key West of the Great Depression.
Yeah, I think, I really benefited from like Jenny's wealth of research that she had already done for the novel. Because, yeah, that was definitely something when I went into the project being like, sort of bracing myself for all of this research that I was going to do. Because, there's a lot of things like clothing or like, did they put paint on the walls? Do they have like carpets? What do the bathrooms look like? Do they just have a tub in the back? Like, just like really inane questions. I actually called Jenny, was like, here, I have a lot of dumb questions for you. Just sort of like get my head around everything. And, that was a lot of the research that I was doing, as well as the sponging docks gave me a lot of trouble because they've sort of been rebuilt and over the years because of hurricanes. Yeah. And there was a big fire, and like there's just so many things that have like stopped that area of Key West from looking the same as it was in the 30s.
Yep.
So I actually, like, one of the most helpful things for me to get my head around, and it's not really something, hopefully you kind of get a sense of it from like how everything connects, but to get my head around like how everything connects, I actually found a Sanborn map, which is like a fire insurance map from like 1935. It was like before one of the bigger storms, and or maybe it was in the 34. But But anyway, so that was like a really like a relief when I found that. I was like, oh my God, and then there's that, and then there's that. Oh my gosh. Because I was also looking at a bunch of like souvenir cards, especially for like the sponging stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, it's sort of like you can see landmarks in the background and you're like, oh, that the Curry building's that way, and then there's this over there. And like, so I was very much like putting together a map in my brain so that I knew kind of like where everything was. And then the other thing that gave me a lot of trouble was actually the sponging boats themselves. So because they weren't very well documented, I couldn't really find much on them. And so I kind of had to like maybe fudge it a little bit on some of the like boat stuff.
You did fine. You did fine.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it still comes through. Like you still get the idea, you know, the small rowboat trailing this larger sailing vessel, and then they would just load it up with sponges. And then I found a couple of like interesting blogs and stuff that kind of went into more detail and stuff that Jenny had sent me. And yeah, that was just the main thing. And then also like avoiding any photographs that had shrimping boats in it, because it's too far in the future. Because apparently the like shrimping industry like boomed in the 1940s, like, and so like it completely changed like what the visual impact of the docks would have been in like the Key West Bight. So like it was like something that I really was aware of when I was looking for references.
Shrimping is still big, so
yeah.
But I
That's
loved
so cool.
I loved so much what Savanna did with the clothes, because I mean when I was researching it, I mean, my descriptions are very loose, and I usually use magazines at the time. You know, I'll buy old magazines from the Great Depression to get a sense of what they're wearing. But I really feel like you nailed like all the various tiers of like what the kids were wearing and, you know, what mom was wearing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I really tried to focus on like what people in more like rural communities were wearing, and not necessarily what, you know, a catalog was saying that they were wearing. So I like when I was doing my clothing research, I really looked for like pictures from the 30s of like kids at like farms or kids in like, you know, the South in small areas. And that was mainly what I looked for. And then also being aware that maybe some of the adults would wear older styles, and, you know, like the grandmother would wear maybe like a 20s hat instead of like a hat from the 1930s. And just small things like that. And, you know, there's a couple of like clothing anachronisms that I kind of just did on purpose. Like Turtle wears shorts at one point, which I'm sure happened, but it was like, it's not in any sort of documentation at all. Like, I was just like, I'm going to give Turtle some shorts for the scene where she's stuck on an island. No spoilers, sorry. But like, yeah, just like the little things like that, as far as like things that weren't supposed to be in there that I ended up putting in there. But most of it, I tried to be pretty accurate.
Fun, much too late research tip. You can get old reprints of Sears and Roebuck catalogs, which are super freaking handy.
Oh, that's
for
so fun.
Historical stuff.
Love the wish book.
For writing and drawing. Yeah.
One of the things that I love to learn about when I read Turtle in Paradise is the learning about the Sears kit homes that that like Turtle's mother wants to buy. Yes. And actually like walking around my neighborhood and being like, I think that, like there's a lot of them actually in my neighborhood, because like they all have like the eaves roof and like the rounded door, and like just the story of like, you know, them having all of these parts and then having nobody to buy them, and then just being like, let's just put it in a big box and give, you know. But that's just super interesting.
So when I adapted A Wrinkle in Time, one of the things that I really struggled with personally was finding a way to sort of claim ownership of the project when I wasn't the writer and when I was adapting this pre-existing work, and to find a way to like make it my own. And Savanna, I was wondering how you made this book your own.
I definitely, I can see where you're coming from for sure. Like, being in an existing work, but with Turtle, Jenny was really, gracious with like allowing me to do what I wanted, which was amazing. And, I definitely brought in some influences that I hope that sort of made it something that recognizable as something that I did, especially like my art that's more inspired by maybe anime or manga, or the fact that I sort of brought in this sort of animated feel too. There was definitely things that I thought, I want this to definitely be something that people will be like, oh yeah, I can see Savanna did that. And you know, hopefully like the way that the characters interact and like their facial expressions can sort of clue into some things that maybe are more me, and then more of my interpretation of the novel. And I think that little things like that is what I really like clung to, as far as like being like, this is like something that I've contributed to, as far as like an artwork goes.
I mean, I think you brought it, like you took it to a whole new level. Like it's so fresh. I love that. I love the anime. I'm like, we're huge manga fans here. It just feels like so new for a whole like generation of readers. So the kids that originally read it, they're in college now, or who knows, older. I'm old, I'm much older. And so this is like reintroducing it. And I was talking to somebody who'd read it, and I agreed, like it's really hard to visualize Key West if you haven't been there, first of all. Like even just the colors, you can't even imagine what it looks like, the sky. But also just like, you're so amazing at characters' faces. Like you can do more with a face than I could do with dialogues. So it's just beautiful, I think.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and Lark was amazing.
Oh, Lark is amazing.
Yeah, who colored the book, Lark Pan, and she was like really instrumental in like, I think some of the like sort of fresh tropical feeling that I think some of the scenes have, especially when they're like out on the water. I think that she did an amazing job, and she was really great to talk to, as far as getting to understand what kind of tone we wanted it to have, and how the colors could make or break the book, and like how we really wanted some scenes to be super memorable. And she's just great in that she's always thinking about how how kids are going to remember the book. And like I remember she was like, I think that sometimes doing some weird stuff, like with the rose color holds on the memory, the flashback scenes, stuff like that is what like kids are going to remember, and like what makes the book memorable. So it was really great to have a collaborator in Lark, and I think she really contributed to like how you were saying, like the fresh, and like how like you can feel Key West in the book for sure.
I think we have time for like one more of my questions, maybe two. So Jenny, nicknames play a really big role in the book. And I was wondering, how many of those were real nicknames that you scavenged from the people that you spoke to? And also, did you also have a wacky Key West nickname? Or just a nickname in general?
So no nickname. My nickname is just Cuzzy, because I'm the cousin. So Cuzzie. But there are actually like 2 books are over there on a stack, published books of Key West nicknames, like hundreds of thousands of names. Some historian went through and wrote them all down, and then wrote the actual person's name. So some of the nicknames, like Beans was in the book. And then I think his best friend, I had named him Ralph, and I thought that was boring. So I asked my husband, Ralph and Beans doesn't work. And he's like, it's got to be pork chop and beans. They just go together. So that's kind of how some of them came about. But yeah, I mean, so the whole the whole nicknaming thing in Key West was either like a funny thing. It could be, somebody's not very smart about something, so they end up getting named that, like, they fall in a puddle, and then they're puddle for the rest of their life. And there are a few raunchy ones for sure. But yeah, but I took a bunch of them from the book.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I think that we can move over to questions, but I'm not seeing any in the sidebar. Is there a different sidebar?
Yeah, so on the very bottom, if you click that number next to ask
The
a
plus? Oh, wait, I see it. I see it. Okay. All right, here we go. How did you land on this cover image? Was there a process, or did you more or less know what it was going to look like? It's beautiful.
Yeah, so we went through a lot of covers.
I know.
And, you know, a lot
Poor
of them
Savanna.
are in the back of the book, the early concepts. So that'll be a fun treat when you pick the book up. But yeah, I went through a lot of iterations, but mostly we wanted Turtle as a character to stand out and to be, you know, the center. And then, you know, the designer Patrick Crotty for Random House Graphic, yeah, he did the main design, and I did the illustration of these palm trees. And then we just sort of worked together to sort of come up with a design we thought was strong and good. And yeah, I'm really happy with the character art that ended up being on here. But it did go through a lot of iterations, and some of the covers they're more classic than contemporary. But I think that the fact that the cover is so contemporary is what makes it really stand out, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was probably I probably drove Savanna nuts a little bit, or everybody probably, because I thought we should have it should be very contemporary.
Yeah.
So, and we landed on, it worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, doing a cover is always such a nightmare for me too. It's always like, does marketing like it? Does marketing like it?
Yeah.
I have to just completely let it go.
Yeah. I think with all the books that I've done, we've had really extensive cover art. I don't know if, I guess that's normal.
That's normal. I know.
Yeah.
Because with Bloom we had like a billion too. So yeah. But yeah, it was fun, and I'm ultimately super happy with how it looks. So
Me too.
yeah, it was all good.
Jenny, are there graphic novel adaptations that we can expect in the future from you?
Not yet. I would love more. This will be a good test case. Everybody go out and buy this book right now. Let's get some more. Let's get some more. I'd love to do, I think Penny from Heaven would be a fun one to do, actually. No, I would love it. I think it's, you know, we're still in the early age of this amazing graphic novel renaissance. So it'll be interesting to see if I know other people, I have other friends who are doing the same thing, having their novels adapted into graphic novels. So see what the kids think.
Yeah, super exciting.
I'm sure they're going to love it. Okay, Savanna, did you have a favorite scene that you worked on in the book?
I don't want to spoil anything, but I really loved the end. And because I really loved the end in the novel as well. Just, you know, sort of lingering on all of the characters without giving anything away. Just lingering on all the characters and all the character acting that I got to do with those ending scenes was really, it was super fun to do. But then also any of the like outdoorsy scenes, and there's a couple of pages where they're on the beach that was really fun to draw, and it has a lot of fun comedic moments where they're talking to their teacher was really great. And some of the more like dramatic scenes were fun for me. I like to draw dramatic stuff. Dramatic and sad things. I don't know.
You're not like very dramatic. You're so easy to collaborate with. You're like very mellow. You're kind of like, I mean, I've been used to collaborating, and I always hear these nightmare stories, and I've collaborated for like 20 years now with my brother Matt, and you're a lot like him. You guys are both like very mellow, very detail oriented. So
yeah,
you blow the stereotype of the dramatic artist.
Oh, thank you. I put all my drama into my art. So
Jenny, do you have a favorite scene in the book, in the graphic novel?
So my favorite scene is when I don't think this is giving too much away. It's when she just first is walking into the house, because Savannah and I have been obsessed with what the houses look like inside. and this is what a little Key West conch house looks like. They're very narrow. They had what they call dade pine wood walls. They're very dark, actually. They're dark little houses on the inside. So there is just very interesting architectural style. If you go to the Bahamas, they call these are they call them conch houses here, or Bahama style houses. But if you go to the Bahamas, you'll see the exact same style houses. So they kind of brought over their architecture.
Any recommendations for graphic novels for young readers?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. Savanna, you want to go?
I just reread The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen, and that was so good. I unfortunately have that syndrome where I'm a comic artist that is really bad at reading comics because I'm just so busy. So I don't have a ton of recommendations, but Random House has a really great lineup coming up soon, and all of their kids stuff is really quality, great stuff. So I would probably start there and work your way. Sorry, it's bad. I don't know.
It's all good. It's all good. Cardboard Kingdom is really good. That's out of the Random House Graphics line. That's a really good one. In our house, we love, if you want to go straight Japanese, we love Chi Sweet Home. Chi is a little cat. So if you like the cat Smokey, you'll love Chi Sweet Home. Chi means pee in Japanese, and this cat pees on the floor and gets the nickname of Pee for the rest of its life. Speaking of nicknames, I also love Twins by Varian Johnson. It came out last year. It's about twin sisters, so it's kind of fun. I love sibling relationships. I'm one of 5, so it's something that I think about a lot.
And while we're talking about books, favorite historical fiction?
Ooh.
Oh man.
That is tough. So anything by Kirby Larson for me. She has done a lot of great stuff. Also, Karen Cushman is, of course, the grande dame of historical fiction, in my opinion.
I don't really have an answer. I don't really know. I think
you read all that historical fiction in middle school and it's gone.
It's gone. Well, I mean, in middle school, I was reading all of Karen Hesse's books. And I don't know if...
Oh, yeah. Lost the Dust book.
Yeah, Out of the Dust books.
Out of the Dust.
Phoenix Rising. I read all those books. So those were the books I was reading in middle school, the ones that I'm sort of thinking of. And, those are all interesting and sad. And I think there's another one called A Time of Angels, or that might be a different author. But that one, that was really memorable to me. I remember reading that one and really loving it. But yeah.
And what's next for each of you? Any upcoming stuff that you can talk about?
Yeah, so we just announced Bloom's getting a sequel, so that's exciting. Yeah!
Fantastic.
Bloom's getting a sequel, so look out for that. It'll probably be a while to the release, but we're definitely doing it, and we can talk about it now, which is great because we've signed back in pre-COVID times, and then we're just sort of okay, shut up now about it.
The worst. It's the worst.
But yeah, so it's great to be able to talk about that. But yeah, no, that's all I got going on right now that I can talk about.
Oh, that's good. We have the new Sunny book coming out in September. It's Sunny Makes a Splash. And Sunny, it picks up right after the last Sunny book, and it's about her summer. She's having a boring summer, and she ends up getting a job at the local swim pool, working at the snack bar. There's a little bit of romance in it. So it's the first time boys are introduced.
It sounds awesome. Excited to read that one. Well, I'm out of questions, and the audience apparently is out of questions.
Well, that was a great conversation. Savanna, Jenny, any final closing remarks?
No.
Yeah,
just thanks for having me, and it was so fun to talk to you, Hope. And so nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
And if there's any Key West folks on. I'm going to be in Key West, and I'm going to be doing a signing at Books and Books, I believe, on Sunday, the 11th. Time to be determined. So I'll see you in a week or so.
Oh, and my niece May May says hi. Hi, May May.
Oh.
All right, well, thank you all so much. And of course, if you guys haven't gotten your copy of Turtle in Paradise, you can do so by clicking the green button at the bottom of the screen. We appreciate everyone coming out and joining us tonight, and we hope to see you at our next virtual event.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.